Welcome to the Mad Mamluks. My name is Mohammed.
My name is Amir.
My name is Sim.
Today we have a guest and a good friend of mine, Hamza Warsi, here to talk about halal foods and give us a little insight into that subject. He works for Halal Advocates, which is an organization established in 2008. The Halal Advocates emerged out of concern of a few individuals for the state of halal in America and its implications to the Muslim community. Hamza, thanks a lot for being here.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Barakallahu feekum for having me. I really appreciate it. Wa alaikum assalam.
It's our honor, man.
I know you as the guy, like, whenever anyone has a question on what's halal, what's haram, everyone calls you. That's always what I knew you as. How'd this whole thing start?
Alhamdulillah, in 2008, Halal Advocates was established. We started off actually doing a lot of research. So what we had to do was, in order to, basically we're a nonprofit organization, and we do halal audit and we do halal certification. So in order to begin that process, you can't just dive, head first into certifying different establishments. So the first thing that we did was to travel around the world. Alhamdulillah, we went to many countries in South America and Brazil, to Colombia, went to Canada, South Africa, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, went to the UK, went to Australia, went to New Zealand, just specifically researching what the methods of slaughtering were occurring in these different countries. The reason why we did all this research was because all of this meat was coming into America. So it was coming into Chicago, it was coming into California, into New York. So we wanted to see which slaughter methods they were using. So during this long journey, we actually visited different scholars and different organizations which had certification bodies. So in South Africa, they had a certification body. In Canada, they had a certification body, and they had one in UK as well. So we went to them, we went to the organization, we said, hey, look, we want to start something in America. Can you give us some advice? You guys have been running for a number of years. So they all gave us a number of advices on how to start things in America. So that's just a gist of how we got started in America.
Before you guys, was there any kind of organization like this?
Yes, there are many organizations in America currently that do halal certification. So that was already present. One thing that we strive for is a higher standard, which we don't see in different organizations. The higher standard meaning the Sunnah standard, reciting the tasmiyah, reciting Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, when slaughtering the animal, severing majority of the vessels of the animal, right? So there's a difference of opinion on how many veins need to be cut and things like that. So we make sure that all 4 veins are being cut. The reason why we make sure all 4 veins are being cut, there are differences of opinion, and I'm not here to make my opinion or someone else's opinion more grand than another person's opinion, right? There's difference of opinion in the religion of Islam. We all understand that. So in order to encompass every single Muslim, regardless of their opinion, right? We make sure that all 4 vessels are cut. They are cut by hand using a sharp knife, and also that the tasmiyah, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, the recitation of God's name, is pronounced on every single animal out loud.
Why can't there be one unified organization? I understand that there's a difference of opinions and whatnot, but why can't we have one organization like yours that says, okay, we're going to go by the most safest method?
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of challenges that people face in the halal industry. The reason why, unfortunately, it's the same question that can be posed. Why can't there be one big masjid, right? Where everyone comes together and prays to Allah, right? Which is, mashallah, we have a lot of big masajid in the area, right? But the reason is, honestly, it's because of a difference of opinion. They follow a different scholar who says, well, this way is okay. So they allow that for their certification.
But you could imagine the confusion just for the average Muslim who doesn't keep up with all these different standards and organizations. They just want to know if their eating is halal or not. They can't be bothered by all these different organizations and standards and whatnot. They just don't have the time, or they don't care that much or enough to look into it. I think we as Muslims need to come together and say, hey, we have to figure something out, a standard. What some of our biggest groups within North America need to come together and say, hey, we have to figure this out because this is causing a lot of confusion.
I think one of the main reasons why that's very difficult to happen is because we are not in a Muslim country, right? And I think we had the discussion probably before on many different podcasts, but it's worth mentioning that there is a phenomenon now where we're in this melting pot, and Muslims from so many different parts of the world and so many different opinions appear in this very country, and there's so many different religious bodies that conduct their own way of doing things, which is fine. That's just a different challenge we have that the Muslim countries don't have. So, inshallah, for the struggles that we go through, we may be getting a different type of ajr than they do. But the reason I'm mentioning all this is we don't have one mufti for the entire country of United States to say this is how we're going to do this, and this all the Muslim countries have that, right?
Yeah.
So that's one way of diffusing this issue, but we don't have that. And I personally believe if we don't have that, then we're never actually really going to get rid of all of this, so we have to work with it.
Yeah, we're never going to solve this problem.
We're never going to solve the issue, yeah.
It's always going to be another standard, another organization that's going to start.
But I personally, for me, the way I think is, and I don't want to get too philosophical, I kind of think that since that's not a possibility, I don't think we should refer to that as a problem, right? I think we kind of refer to it as an issue that we just have to deal with. And if we can come together, that'd be awesome. But we shouldn't really think that it's really going to happen anytime soon.
No, it's not that it's going to happen real time soon. It's just that recognizing that there is a problem.
Oh, yeah.
And that we have to work towards that objective.
Hamza, do you see any issues with different organizations? Does someone say, "Oh, hey, these guys said it's okay, but you guys maybe don't"? It doesn't stand to your standards. Has that ever happened?
Yes, many times. So the thing to acknowledge right now is that we're in America, right? So there's a separation between church and state, meaning that the laws of the land, anyone could bring it up. So there was famous cases that were brought up. For example, one person was selling hand slaughtered, and they were labeling as dhabih halal, right? And then a new company came in and they used a different method of slaughtering, right? And they were also saying that it was dhabih halal, right? So the guy got really upset. He said, "No, I am doing the actual dhabh of the animal." Dhabh means to kill it horizontally, right? Mm-hmm. So dhabih halal is basically if you're killing the animal with a knife in a horizontal method across the throat, right? So in that manner, even machine slaughtered would be regarded as dhabih halal. Right. So this one company got really upset because they were using machine slaughtered and saying it was dhabiha. So he took him to court and he said, what this individual is doing, he's ruining my business. Right. Because everyone's assuming he's using the same exact methods that I am using. And I've been advocating for this, and it costs, X amount of dollars more than his brand because we have actual slaughtermen on the kill floor. So the judge looked at it, and he basically threw out the case on the basis of that his version of Islam and the other person's version of Islam is different. Meaning you guys both, one views it as dhabih halal, the other one also views it as dhabih halal. So therefore, they can't do anything about it.
Can you define that term for us, dhabiha and halal? Like, I've heard both of them. I've heard just halal. I've heard zabiha. Mm-hmm. What is it?
Yeah, I mean, if you eat, if I say I ate halal food,
yes,
does that still count? Zabiha?
I like that innocent face you made when you did that.
No, because all I do is I look for the halal sticker or any halal sticker. I don't know who's issuing what.
Correct. Yeah.
I just ask the people, is it halal? And that's it.
So I've actually seen, this is first-hand information, I've seen a package of, I believe it was some type of chips with pork skin on top of it, right? Or they had some type of pork ingredients inside of it. I'm forgetting the exact name of it, but it was labeled as halal. And I picked this up and I was looking at it. I was like, how's this possible? This is pork. I'm pretty sure in every form of Islam, it's not allowed. But the thing is, anyone can slap a halal label on anything, right? So there's no...
Wait, you actually saw this?
Yes, I've seen this firsthand.
In the United States?
In America, correct.
In Chicago?
This was not in Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah. There's other places outside of Chicago.
My pork skins that I ate were not no.
So wait, if anyone could just slap the sticker on any chips or whatever, any pork, where's the line then? Where's the...
That's why there is certification is needed, because if anyone believing in any form of Islam or whatever difference of opinions they have, or if they can just say by face that, hey, I'm Muslim, mm-hmm. right, and someone takes them to court and says, hey, no, the Muslims aren't allowed that, and he says, no, but in my version of Islam, it's okay, the judge can't do anything about it.
Okay.
It's very unfortunate that this is happening, but the same way that anyone can throw. That's why when you asked, what's the difference between dhabiha and dhabiha halal and halal and things like that, dhabh is the way of slaughtering, right? So
Wait, it's dhabiha,
dhabiha,
not zabiha.
not with the z.
Okay.
For all our Desi
Wait,
listeners.
now we're
Yeah.
causing a whole new type of confusion. Anarchy is going to be reigning in the streets.
I'm thinking, what is this? He's saying it wrong. He doesn't know.
It's with the zal, not with the zal.
Okay. So dhabiha halal.
Dhabiha, yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Where do you guys stand on Creekstone?
So I'm glad that you brought this up, right? Something very unfortunate that's regarded in the community today is that they see our organization as like the halal police, right? Which is, they say, oh, these guys are going around and saying this is halal and this is haram and things like that, right? We're a third party audit where we don't say and we're not allowed to say what is halal and what's haram. I am not a scholar of deen. Sheikh Amr is here. He's a scholar of deen, right?
Mashallah.
Mashallah. I'm not a scholar. Who am I to say that this is, lawful or unlawful in my religion? I don't have that authority to say anything. So a lot of people bring up this question, oh, what about this company and that company and that company? Look, it's very simple. The only thing I can say is that company, whatever it is, whether it's a slaughterhouse or a restaurant or, a meat market, it's not certified by me. I don't go in the back of the store. I don't see the invoices. I don't see any of the fridges or freezers or anything of that nature. And I cannot comment on the halal status of that company.
So what is your day-to-day then? Is that what you do? Do you guys go to the back of the store? Do you look at invoices? I mean, no, I'm curious though.
No, it's good. What we do right now, alhamdulillah, in Chicago, we have 19 stores certified by us, right? So our certification, I want to kind of take you step by step on how we certify stores.
Yeah.
So basically, either we get inquiries via email generated from our website, or there's individuals who, customers who ask the stores to get certified. And when they ask, say, hey, call this individual and he'll let you know what to do. So once I meet with them, there's an application process where they want to get certified, and they say, and I ask them, what meats are you currently using, for example, right? So they list out these meats, and we say, hey, look, these few that you have mentioned are approved by us or certified by us, but the other ones that you have mentioned, we don't currently allow it. So again, like I said, I never say halal or haram, right? It's currently not approved or not certified. We only allow you to use these products. And if you would like our certification, you can continue using these products, right? But these other ones you would have to get rid of. Now, the other aspect is that what if he's not using a brand that is approved by you, right? Meaning he has 4 approved and 2 non-approved, right? And we have a list of, say, 20 approved. So it is my job to tell him every single approved item that he can get. Because the thing is, now if I tell him, hey, you can buy from company A, B, and C, and I say, company C is a little better, what's that? It's saying that I can make some money off of company C, but at the end of the day, we don't make there's no profit in there. If he chooses A, B, or C, it doesn't benefit me in any manner. It only benefits the actual company, right? So in that same manner, we tell them this is what we approve of, and you can choose from these approved lists of suppliers. And, based on delivery schedule, pricing, quality, whatever it is, you can go wild and choose whatever you want to choose from these approved sources, right? And the other aspect of it is, alhamdulillah, we have a full-time ingredient specialist. He's a food scientist. He studied in South Africa, and he had training for about 6 months under another certification organization that was present way before we were. So
wait, what does the food scientist do? What are his skills that he brings to?
So basically,
certifying?
So when we certify a store, right, we don't only certify the meat, because the thing is, for example, if someone is saying, hey, all the meat is of the highest standard, and everyone can eat from there, right? What ends up happening is that if again, there's differences of opinions on certain things, but if you have for example, vinaigrette, right? And you have vinaigrette that contains white wine, right? what's going to happen? You're consuming the meat that's, completely okay for every single person. But that vinaigrette, for example, right? It contains alcohol in it, which isn't, I don't know if anyone's okay with alcohol in Islam, right? No one's okay with it. The same thing goes. I've went to many stores where they had yogurt, for example, and they said, no, brother, everything, I check it and everything's okay. And I said, I believe you. We just have to do our due diligence of going through everything. So I went to the back of the store and, I was picking up breads and things like that. And I was documenting everything. And then I picked up, it was literally a 5-pound tub of yogurt. And I picked it up and I started reading it. I'm like, brother, what's this word that it says? He's like, gelatin. And he got, he got scared. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to tell you what to do with the yogurt. Either you can sell it off, because it was literally, there's probably 4.9 pounds of yogurt in there, right? So I said, look, I'm not here to judge you or anything. If you want to use it, you can use it. Call me back when you're done with it, or whenever you're ready for the next step of the certification. And he looks at me, he says, brother, this is haram. He's like, how can I ever sell this to anybody? Right? And he literally it was a fresh batch of yogurt. He took it and he threw it in the dumpster. He's like, we'll go get some new yogurt from somewhere else. And one of the workers came up and, he's like, what's going on? This, that. He's like, oh, there's pig in there. He's like, what's it? He's like, what? He's like, I just had it 30 minutes ago, right? And the other guy, the owner turns to him. He's like, don't worry, brother, you're going to hell. It doesn't matter. Mashallah, they were joking about it, but there was actual concern for it as well. So when we certify a store, we don't only certify the meats. We also go through the ingredients. Now, something that comes up is cheeses. Right. And a lot of people have a lot of questions about it. And I understand different scholars have given different opinions about it. Right. So in the Hanafi fiqh, there's a difference of opinion between, I believe, Imam Abu Yusuf, Imam Muhammad, rahimahullah. So they say that there's something called istihala, right? It goes through a transformation process, right? A chemical transformation where the rennet, or the enzyme, the lining of the stomach of the animal, right? It goes through such a rigorous process that it turns into something new, right? And it's not part of the animal anymore. Right. So a lot of the people who follow the Hanafi fiqh, right, they're all okay with any animal enzymes which aren't pig, because pig is najis already. So they say you can't use this ruling for pigs. You can use it for any other animal, any other enzymes from any other animal. So when we look into it, our organization looks into it, and we see Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, he says no. If it's not slaughtered in the name of Allah, right, and proper halal, right, and you take it from a non-halal animal that's not slaughtered properly, we still won't, the Shafi'i school of thought won't allow it. Now, what am I supposed to do? Right now, alhamdulillah, I have 2 Shafi'i inspectors who inspect stores. I'm going to tell them, go get a cheeseburger without cheese. It doesn't make any sense, right? So that same way, all of our ingredients, right, for all the cheeses, for example, they don't contain any animal enzymes, right? They're microbial or they're artificial enzymes. At the same time, there's, a lot of ingredients that people don't know about. Lipase, for example, it's a hidden ingredient in cheese that's derived from animal, right? From animal byproduct. And natural flavors, for example, it's in almost everything, right? It can have animal byproducts or alcohol from a wine source. Stearate comes from the tallow from tallow, right? From cow. Things like that don't go through any transformation. I don't understand how, when people look into it, right, they, a lot of people live by the rule, if you can't read it, don't buy it, right? Yeah. On the ingredients line, which is great, but hey man, I like chocolate. It gets a little difficult, so people look for different labels on what they're buying, right? So for example, everyone looks for the UD, or, the K triangle and things like that. What does that mean? It's a kosher certification. Yes. It's the Orthodox Union, the U with the O, right? Mm-hmm. And then D is for dairy. So now the thing is, people look at it and say, oh, it's kosher certified. I'm okay. Now, when you look into it a little deeper, what's the difference between kosher certification and what is mandated by law by Allah Ta'ala, right? When you take L-cysteine from human hair, it's allowed in kosher certification. It's not allowed in Islam. When you take alcohol, for example, right, it's allowed in kosher certification. It's not allowed in halal certification. So these things, the food that you're asking, what does the food scientist do, right? He goes through all of this information. Wow. So every single time I have a new store, I send him a long email. I said, hey, go through it. Let me know what is okay, what is not okay, right? At the same time, we have scholars who studied for numerous years and specialized in different fiqhs, right? It's not just one or two. No, we have scholars from almost every single fiqh, right? That's out there, right? We have a Shafi scholar, we have a Maliki scholar, we have a Hanafi scholar. This way, he goes back to them and says, okay, this is an ingredient, right? What does each single fiqh say about it, right? And once they say, okay, this one says this one says that, this one says that, okay, this is the opinion that will encompass the rest of them. Meaning that this is the opinion that everyone will be okay with. This is the most strict opinion that we can follow. So in that manner, that's what he does basically. So he goes through all the ingredients. And for example, now people ask, okay, what if something is wrong? What if you find honey mustard with white wine in it, right? Like, I don't want to throw out any names, but a lot of these fast food chains that we eat at, right? They have honey mustard, but it has white wine. What are you supposed to do? So his job is also to find alternatives. So he goes and does his research and finds alternatives of products that we approve of for that specific, like honey mustard or mayonnaise or yogurt.
You just ruined honey mustard for me, man.
Well,
I don't want to talk to you guys anymore. Let's end this podcast.
I love honey mustard too. This is crazy.
But you can get a lot from a lot of different stores that don't have white wine. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he can give you a lot of exchanges. But anyways, continue.
So wait, how many of these restaurants are actually going through this process? Chicago's a pretty big
Chicago's a huge marketplace, mashallah. Right now, we have as an organization 19 certified stores. Alhamdulillah, I have about 8 on the wait list right now that I have to get to and that are going through the process of certification.
And how much does this cost?
So I'm glad you brought that up.
I'm not being a customer. I'm just wondering.
Yeah. A lot of people, they say, and it's really funny because when people say, oh, these guys, halal advocates, they charge $500, $1,000 and millions of dollars, this, that. I said, man, I wish they charged that. I wish I could make all that, but alhamdulillah, we don't, right? And our certification is very open. And we only charge $25 a month. Wow. So that's less than $1 a day for the store. And let me be clear as well. People say, oh, what about the certification fee? We do have a certification fee. It's $20. Reason why it is $20 is literally because the frame cost me $14.99, right? And it costs about $5 to print a 15-page contract, black and white. And then you have one color certificate that I have to print as well from FedEx office, on Butterfield Road. So literally, it's just the cost of what we have. And now people ask, why do you even charge? Brother, you should do this for the sake of Allah Ta'ala and you should do it for free, which is true. Now, the thing is what we have for, like I mentioned, we have, different inspectors, right? So alhamdulillah, right now I believe 14 inspectors right now inspecting our stores. Now people say, oh, so you inspect once a month, twice a month, how often do you do it? Alhamdulillah, every single one of our stores is inspected 2 to 3 times a week.
Wow.
Right? Wow. So now the inspector is going and he's driving back and forth. Man, at least I can pay for his gas money,
Yeah.
And, we do reimburse them per mile because for volunteers, it's 19 cents a mile. We do give them that reimbursement as well. But also that $25, I tell them, I'm like, look, man, you're driving back and forth 2-3 times in a week, please take this money, fill up, house gas prices right now, hopefully you could fill up, a decent amount of gas, that'll cover the amount that you're going back and forth.
And a bag of M&Ms at the gas station.
Can never go wrong with M&Ms. Mashallah. So that's something that we do as well. Now, a lot of people ask, why, for example, the reason for certification. A lot of people ask, brother, why are you making this difficult? Just let everyone's eating halal. You should trust your Muslim brother and things like that. So I wanted to go over a few instances that I personally witnessed, right? And I didn't realize how the phenomenon was because, I was a kid when I started. I started in 2011, right? And in the beginning, I didn't have a very active role. I was basically calling stores and just asking questions. And then once I got into the field and I was inspecting and I was looking at all these things, we saw stores that would, for example, they would say everything 100% dhabih halal. They say, brother, I understand, you're dhabih halal, but is it hand slaughtered product or is it machine slaughtered product? And they say, oh, brother, how could you ever question me? Of course it's hand slaughtered, brother. I go to the masjid, I pray 5 times a day. I say, mashallah, barakallahu feekum. That's great. Thank you for letting me know. And, I asked them, okay, who's your supplier? So they mentioned a supplier's name. And I'm like, okay, thank you so much. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum. You know, I hang up. And I turn around, I called the name of the supplier that he said. I said, Assalamu alaikum. Do you guys deliver to so-and-so store? No. What? No, but the brother just told me, you know, he made qasam and he swore that for sure that, you know, he buys from you. Is there any mistake that you've made? Sorry, sir. You know, they're replying to me and they're telling me, sorry, we don't know what to say, but they don't purchase anything from us. So there's a lot of deception that's going on as well. More recently, I saw one meat market. It's an interesting story. One meat market who buys a large volume of hand slaughtered chicken product, right? So they come in these 40-pound boxes, right? So, you know, his delivery day is on a certain day of the week. So he gets his shipment and he's there busy cutting it up, his butchers and things like that, and preparing it for the week to sell. So what ends up happening is one of the nearby stores comes to him running in and says, "Oh, Fulan, I need boxes. Do you have empty boxes there?" Right? So he said, yeah, I just finished. You know, what do you need boxes for? He said, "Oh, you know, I have a big order. I have to throw it in boxes." Or he says something along those lines. So yeah, definitely, you know, there's like 25, 30 boxes of hand slaughtered chicken product. You know, it's just empty boxes. You can take it. No problem. So he takes every single box and he leaves. So later on in, you know, probably, I believe it was 2 days later, you know, the man who owned the store with the hand slaughtered chicken, he started thinking, he said, you know, I should stop by and say, you know, see what's going on with my friend. You know, mashallah, he had a really large order. He took every single one of my boxes. So he goes to the store and, you know, they're friends. So it was very open. And he just walked, you know, casually into the back and he opened his fridge. He wasn't present. There was other workers there. So he opens and he sees all these hand slaughtered products, right? All these boxes that, you know, were the same exact boxes from his store, right? So mashallah, you know, this guy really had husn al-dhann, and he said, "Oh, you know, mashallah, my brother's buying hand slaughtered now." So he goes and, you know, he gets on the phone and he calls the supplier. He said, "Hey man, why didn't you tell me you started delivering to the store?" And the supplier says, I don't know what you're talking about." He's like, no. He's like, "I was just there. I saw all of your chicken products in the back of the store." He's like, "I don't know what to tell you. I've never delivered to him." So then he approaches the owner and he says, "Hey, what's going on?" And he's like, "Hi, Nabe, hi, you know, I just need it for storage and things like that." And the reality was he took those boxes and filled them up with, I don't know what he filled them up with. I wasn't present, but he did fill them up with other product. And he was saying that they were hand slaughtered, right? And then a week later, he was telling us that, you know, he's like, you know, he gets his delivery on a certain day. He cuts it up and, you know, he tosses it in the back of the dumpster. He's like, this guy was actually coming into the dumpster and he was trying to grab those boxes and take it to a store just to pull it off to the public. If someone walks in, right, and asks, "Oh, are you hand slaughtered?" and someone wants to get really strict with him, "Yeah, show me the back, you know, show me what's going on in the back." He can open his freezer and say, "Hey, do you recognize this label?" "Oh, yes, I do. MashaAllah, you're buying it." You know, that's great. Excuse me. So, and then, you know, they'll continue to purchase and he'll gain that customer base, right? So the thing to note is that the differences, you know, maybe in pricing is maybe $2 to $2 a pound, which is a huge difference. You know, there's a larger profit margin, you know, there's a lot more profit to be made as well. Mm-hmm. So these are the reasons, you know, there's many, I can go on for hours about, you know, how much deception and fraud I have seen.
Well, how do you feel about people, the ordinary individual, just going to the back of a store, they're not part of your organization or anything. Let's just say I just go to a restaurant and I would say, "Open up the back of your store. Let me see what you have." Do you think that's okay, or do you think I should be relying on organizations such as yours to do that job?
So now here's the thing, right? Do you know what the labels for the boxes or the labels for, you know, if you eat hand slaughtered, for example, or if you eat machine slaughtered, you know, halal, do you know which labels are for which?
Let's say I know a little bit. And I'm not saying I'm an expert like you, but let's just say I know the major providers or manufacturers of the proper Zabiya halal. Should I be asking, or should I be relying on people who are in charge to do that job?
I would suggest to rely on the individuals who are doing the work. The reason being is that I've noticed, right, between elders and, people in the community, they said, hey, I went to such and such restaurant. I went in the back. The individual's telling me personally, I went in the back and I looked for this and I saw this and I read the invoices and I did this. And I asked, I didn't say anything. He's my elder. So, I just said, okay, jazakallah khair for the information, right? And then I asked one of the delivery guys and I said, hey, what's going on over here? And he's like, oh, yeah. He's like, dude, I told you about it already. I'm saying? I'm like, no. What happened this week? And he's like, oh, the same issue kept coming up. And he's like, I'm like, no, but, this uncle told me that he went in the back and he checked it and things like that. He's like, yeah, man. He's like, you think, they're trained properly to read the dates on the boxes? There's certain boxes in the community right now in the industry that are very, very nice and they can last for a very long amount of time. So, our inspectors are trained to read the dates, cross-reference with the invoices to see, if old boxes are there, if there's new boxes coming in. We see a pattern to occur as well. So we know, okay, he's going to order approximately this amount because he's ordering that every single week. Okay, we saw that, his store wasn't running that well this week, because there was, for example, there was a blizzard in Chicago, we know he's not ordering that amount, and when we pass by the store and we say it's extremely packed, there's so many people, that means he has to be ordering a larger amount as well. So that same way, I honestly would not suggest anyone who's not trained. I'm not saying to completely rely on different organizations, and I can help you out as well if you wanted to get trained. That's not an issue.
Not at all.
But yeah, I personally think that the easiest in our deen and professionalism wise is to rely on the people that are of knowledge of that field, right?
I mean, honestly, for $25, before I honestly, I used to think it was a few $100. I'm thinking it was a good portion. And then, I heard that it was $25. I'm like, what? What are you guys doing, man? That's really interesting. A question I had is, with everything going on in, the society and everything, right? And, an argument that could be made is we have bigger issues to worry about than halal. What is your response to that? Why is halal important? Why is it important for you guys to do your job?
Very simply put, Allah Ta'ala says it in the Quran. He says, in Surah Ma'idah, he says to eat what is where his name has been said on top of the animal, right? The animal has been blessed with his name and then slaughtered. And he says, I think 2 verses later, he says that don't consume which my name has not been set upon, right? Because that would be bad, that you would be punished for it. So the same way that people say, hey, guess what? This is what's going on in society and this is going on. Children are leaving the fold of Islam. But the thing is, the same way when, in a few months, inshallah ta'ala, we'll all be able to witness Ramadan, and thereafter, the Hajj season comes up in Eid and things like that, and people start discussing Hajj. If you haven't gone, brothers, please go. It's going to become difficult in the future. That same way, this is part of our deen. Hajj is part of our deen. Eating halal is also part of our deen. It's in the Quran, and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us and showed us how to slaughter and how, the importance of consuming, because it does have an effect on you. If you're eating lower grade meat, it's not healthy. Just simply put, and a lot of people are becoming more health conscious, right? Because when you go into different slaughtering methods and the mainstream methods, Sajid touched upon it last time in his podcast as well. And, he was talking about the blood retention in certain cows between 2 slaughter methods, right? That, who wants a super bloody, animal? Any food that contains a lot of blood and things like that, that's not good, And if you're having lower grade, chicken or beef or anything like that, it's not going to be something that's good for your body for nourishment. That same way, we want to kind of encourage using the higher standard where it's more humane, right? It doesn't, the animal doesn't feel as much pain, right? Because there's a lot of crazy methods out there, which I've witnessed firsthand, where this guy, he used a captive bolt pistol and he shot the cow in the forehead, right? And the cow collapses right onto the ground, and the slaughterman comes in and he's like, Bismillah Allahu Akbar, and he cuts the neck. The shock that's happening to the animal reflects on the quality of its meat as well. And when I witnessed a kosher knock box, right, basically it's a very box, literally a box where the cow comes in, the gate shuts behind them, right? So there's no room to move back, and left to right, they're very in a tight position. and they slightly tap it on his on the back, and the cow moves a little bit forward, right? And there's a hydraulic system where it lifts the neck up, lifts the whole face up where the neck is exposed, and the slaughterman comes in, Bismillah Akbar, and he takes one swipe and it's clean. Why is it that the different certifications for different religions, why are they more strict than halal standards? That's very unfortunate. Something that happened, and I was on the phone after Jumu'ah Salah, right? One of the brothers, he called me and he said, I want to know if I can allow this, certain brand into your stores. And I said, brother, we have to visit the store visit the slaughtering facility first. He said, okay, and I said, before just, driving out 6 hours and going there and seeing what they're doing, I'm like, do you mind if I give him a call and ask him certain questions? He said, yeah, go ahead. Don't worry. Here's his number. Here's the individual, right? So I give him a call and I say, hi, my name is Hamza. I work for Halal Advocates. Brother Fulan gave me your number to talk to you about, your slaughter methods. So he's explaining to me that they're kosher certified, right? So it's a kosher facility. And he's also, he's saying that it's also halal. And I said, okay, cool. So how often do you guys kill? He said, right now things are a bit slow. We're only killing two times a week for cows. He's like, poultry is running 5 days a week. I said, okay, awesome. I'm like, okay, do you guys use any pre-slaughter stunning? He said, no, we're not allowed to use pre-slaughter stunning. That's another thing. The Jews are very strict on that. They're not allowed to use any pre-slaughter stunning. And then thereafter, I asked him, I said, okay, how do you guys treat the animals? What's going on? I just want to see, kind of gauge what's going on. And then he said,
the culture of the slaughterhouse. Yeah.
Correct. So he's telling me that, the animals come in and, we take them and, he's like, we give them a little bit of water beforehand. And I said, okay, that's great. I'm like, does any animal see another animal being slaughtered? He said, no. Immediately, he said, no, the other animal doesn't see it. I'm like, do they see the knife? And these are all stipulations, not I was going very in depth with him. And then he's like, no, they're not seeing the knife. I'm like, are the knives sharpened between each kill? He said, he's like, for poultry, obviously you can't sharpen it between every single kill because you're killing so many chicken at a time on the kill floor. So he said, yes, we do change out the blades regularly, and we do change out we sharpen the knives between when we're killing the cows. I said, okay, mashallah, this sounds great, right? I'm very excited because I'm like, yes. This is another place, it'll help the Muslim as well because he wants to increase his business. And, I said, mashallah, and I was getting very excited. I'm talking to him for about 20-25 minutes. And then I'm like, brother, who does the killing? He said, rabbinical technician. I said, what? He's like, yeah, a rabbinical technician, someone, from the certifying agency, right? They do the slaughtering. I said, how are you saying this is halal? He said, he's like, I forgot to mention there's a mullah present, right? And I started laughing a little bit. You meant like, authoritative figure in Islam. And he said, yeah, there's a mullah present and he's blessing all the animals, right? I said, do you know our blessing is Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. In the name of God, God is the most great. He said, what? He's like, I didn't know that. He's like, I don't know what he's reciting. I don't understand what he's saying. So I said, okay. I was a little like drawn back, and then I was like, okay, so the rabbinical technician is doing the slaughtering. So how are you regarding it as halal? He's like, oh no, we're certified by this body, by this agency, and they told me this is the method. And he's like, we're paying extra for it to be called halal because the mullah, quote unquote, is present there blessing the animals. So then I was like, man, this sounds very strange. I'm like, what if you guys, I was trying to figure out a solution as well. And I was like, hey, how about, what if we set up a certain day for the Muslim to kill? He said, I have to find out from the kosher certifiers if that'll be okay. He's like, I really don't know. So we started talking a little bit more in detail. And he's like, we have a processing center as well. So I said, whoa, you have a processing center? I know a lot of individuals who are looking to process halal meat. So he goes off the list and he mentions many, many products. And, again, I get very excited. And I said, what if I got someone to give you our meat, right? And would you be able to process it? He said, no. I said, why not? He said, our processing facility is actually kosher certified. So nothing else except certain standards of kosher are allowed to be processed. So I was like, wow, but you're regarding what, you're saying that there's an imam or a mullah that's not slaughtering, you're regarding as halal. Because the thing is, when you look in Judaism, right, they're not allowed to consume the back halves of the cow. So the front halves, right, the cross cut, the shoulder, all the Jews take it. The back half, literally, they will have to dump it because no one else wants it.
So it makes sense for them to sell it.
Exactly. So that's why they get it, quote unquote, certified by a different agency that says it's halal, and it's sold in the marketplace today. And it's present where, it's not actually a Muslim slaughtering it. And then, I asked some very specific details about which prayers they say and, who are they referring to when they're saying it and things like that. So again, I'm not here to discuss, whether can we eat kosher, can we not eat kosher, things like that. But the thing is that it's not being, it's being assumed in the marketplace that it's slaughtered by a Muslim, but in reality, there's no Muslim presence. I do still plan to visit that facility just to see how things are running, and see if we can kind of come to a solution where it'll be okay for all the Muslims. But for right now, that's present in the marketplace. It's very unfortunate.
So when a slaughterhouse, when they say no, they don't do it this way, they don't do it this thing, they can't do this, you try to work with them. You don't just say, oh, okay, I'm sorry. And
yes, of course. Because a lot of times what ends up happening, right, is that if, there's literally very, very small fixes to be made in order to make it halal, right? So if they're open to the idea, because honestly, a lot of these, slaughterhouses and things like that are not run by Muslims. They're run by non-Muslims. So when you tell them, hey, if you tweak this or tweak that, you can make a lot more money. They're like, oh, how? Tell me about it, So, and yeah, of course, we always want to work with anybody and everybody, if we can make it work in a system where we can allow it for our customers, we're always there to help out.
Are you guys in other cities also, or just?
Yeah, so currently, actually, we're present in San Francisco, and we're also in Chicago. I'm actually working on Detroit right now. I have to go there this weekend. And this past weekend and Friday, I was in Milwaukee. And then, inshallah, we have plans for the next few months where we'll be in Atlanta, we'll be in LA, we'll be in Seattle as well.
New York, you guys got to work on New York. I heard a lot of scary stories about them.
New York.
I'm originally from New York.
Those Euros over there. I heard some tales. Just leave it at that.
I wanted to ask you another question.
Yes.
Do you guys publish a list of the ingredients you guys keep an eye out for, or is that something that's kept in house?
The reason, so to answer your question, no, we do not publish a list of the ingredients. The reason is because actually the ingredients change very rapidly from company to company. So in order for
don't they have like different names for the same ingredient?
Correct.
Like
stearic acid, it's basically the same thing, but they have different names for it. So the thing is that things are rapidly changing. So as like I was talking about the certification aspect, when new ingredients come up or, say they're using the same bread that we already approved before as well, then, we do cross-reference, we double check. And, this food scientist's job is actually, mashallah, he goes through it, and he contacts these individuals and lets them know, hey, look, we're allowing it in our stores because of these reasons. If anything changes, please notify us. Alhamdulillah, in the past, they have notified us as well. And they said, hey, look, we're actually changing our process like this or like that or things of that nature. And, they, a lot of people are very cooperative with us in order to allow their products into our stores as well. One thing I wanted to kind of touch upon, which I did a little earlier, and I want to be very open about it, is that, look, if anyone has said in the past that, hey, these guys are halal or these guys are haram and, things like that, this has not come from our organization. Our organization, like I said, and I repeat again and again, is that we are not the halal police. We're not allowed to say what's halal, what's haram. We say this is certified, this is not certified.
Yeah, I've noticed that about you. Like you've never ever said this is haram.
Yeah,
I've never heard him say that.
I actually respect that about you guys.
I respect that a lot.
Yeah,
because the thing is,
I never noticed it until now. It's funny.
It's a very divisive thing to say that imagine someone going to someone's house and you're saying, you just gave me haram food, brother.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, I would be very insulted.
Correct. Exactly.
All I hear is Hamza doesn't eat here. If Hamza doesn't eat here, we out.
But the other aspect is that if I don't eat at a certain spot, maybe I don't like the food. That doesn't necessarily mean, they're doing a wrong thing, or maybe I don't have time to go around that block or something like that. That's why I try to be as open as possible, especially with close friends and family, and they ask a lot of questions and things like that. I dodge a lot of the questions, and I don't want to answer a lot of the questions because, again, I'm not here to say this or that. And at the same time, when people ask me about new restaurants that come out, right, and I ask, I don't like that cuisine. Do I really need to research it and things like that? Oh, no, please, it's for us and this like that. But I say, hey, why don't you just go there, tell them to get certified, right? And then if they get certified, everyone will be happy with it. You know,
another thing, credit to you guys, is I've noticed certain restaurants that do get certified. Dude, business actually booms. Like there's a ton of people that go there.
Mashallah,
a ton of people that go there. I mean, I don't want to name any, but there's one in mind that I always thought about. Like nobody used to go there, and then now all I hear is this. Oh, let's go to this place.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
So, alhamdulillah, this is the other aspect of certification as well. We don't only focus on Muslims. You do understand?
Yeah, it's a non-Muslim place.
3 of our stores that are certified are run by non-Muslims.
Wow.
Right? 3 of our stores. Alhamdulillah.
Not only that, remember, there's one time where I think for Eid or something, they stayed open. They opened a little later, and they stayed open a little bit later. I think there's a sign for it.
Actually, for Ramadan.
For Ramadan, that's what it was.
For Ramadan, because they knew that we pray Tarawih Salah. Right? So they stayed open until after Tarawih, almost until Suhoor time. And I was like, you guys don't need to do this. Like, no, you guys are coming and eating. It's business for us. I was like, oh, mashallah, it's awesome. And it gives us, an opportunity for da'wah as well. Because it was so funny because one of the owners was asking us, how come you guys don't hang out with girls? And we're just like, oh, we're not allowed to and things like that. Like, no, I saw this individual with a female. And I said, hey, I don't know, that might have been his mahram. And I had to explain what mahram was and things like that. And then one time, it was actually in Ramadan. It was very hilarious. She calls me and she's like, Hamza, I have someone here that wants to eat food, but he's Muslim. You guys are supposed to be fasting. It's, the sun's out. And I said, hey, maybe he's traveling. Maybe he's this
sick.
or that. It could be a number of reasons. She's like, yeah, he told me he was traveling, but I don't believe him. Are you sure? Is that okay? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, please serve him food. It's a lot. Mashallah, she was taking that extra step towards, learning Islam as well. And there's another funny instance one time that, the one of the owners was giving one of my friends the receipt, and, he accidentally touched her hand when he was grabbing it. And she's like, you're not supposed to touch me. I'm not married to you. So, alhamdulillah, they're learning about Islam at the same time.
I know you guys, known as the halal police.
We are not the halal police.
What he means is people may assume that.
Yeah. Correct. They assume like, oh, these guys are halal, the halal police, whatever. Don't talk to them or whatever. Yeah. Avoid them, right? But I think it's important to respect different people. Like different people have different beliefs.
Exactly, right? So for example, right, something that's very important that the Muslims need to hear, right, is respecting differences of opinion and respecting other organizations. For example, you guys are doing this podcast, mashallah. I'm loving it, by the way.
Thank you.
For the last, I've been listening to your podcast, and they've been very informative, very interesting. And say, for example, and I never expect this from any of you guys, that if someone else opens, another podcast and they're talking about Islam and different hot topics and things like that, I would never imagine in my life you guys saying, oh, that other podcast, you heard about this, you heard about that, No,
we totally would.
I would, man. But if there was a New York branch that opened up.
They don't eat the biha.
Oh, man, mashallah. No, but I would never expect anyone from any other organization, if someone else is doing good work, right? If someone else is doing the right thing, why do we feel that we want to voice our opinion against them? That's very incorrect, and it's very improper.
Thanks a lot for that. Jazakallah khair, Hamza. I mean, I learned a lot, actually.
Yeah,
very informative.
I learned a lot. For anyone who wants to get in touch with them, you guys have an email, right?
So if anyone wants to volunteer, I don't know many people who want to get into this halal industry.
Seems like a cutthroat business.
Pun intended.
Alhamdulillah, you can email us for the Chicago chapter, at least. You can email us at chicago@halaladvocates.org. If you have any general inquiries, you can always email us at info@halaladvocates.org, and we'll answer any questions that we can answer.
Email us at themadmamluks, THEMADMAMLUKS @gmail.com. We also have a Facebook page and a Twitter handle, also at themadmamluks. Jazakallah khair.